No one truly cares about you, and that is your freedom. Not because people are cruel, but because everyone is busy living their own lives. You are not the center of anyone else's story, and there will be a silent moment, sharp as a blade, when you stop waiting to be understood. It's like standing alone in a square after the crowd has dispersed. You hear your own heartbeat for the first time. No audience, no applause, just the silence. And you. And in that silence, something else awakens. Not explosive motivation, but quiet strength. A small but persistent fire, enough to keep you standing through storms. You stop asking permission to exist. You stop living to prove something. You begin to live, to be present. Not as a role, but as the person you truly are. The Stoics saw this truth a long time ago. True strength begins when you let go of expectations of others. When you stop seeking validation, you reclaim what has been depleted the longest: time, energy, and autonomy. We all carry the illusion that if I hurt enough, someone will notice, but they won't. And that is not a tragedy. That is the door to freedom. The moment you accept that truth, you don't break. You awaken. And today, we will turn that truth into an anchor, replacing impression with quiet presence, replacing noisy reactions with discipline, replacing the craving for attention with inner strength. By the end of this video, you will grasp 7 silent but sharp habits, enough to turn solitude into inner power and turn validation into something you no longer have to wait for from anyone. If these words resonate with you, stay until the end of the video and don't forget to subscribe to Stoic Journey, not to find motivation, but to train inner strength every day. If you are ready, let's begin. Rule 1. Accept that no one is coming to save you. From childhood, we grow up with a very naive belief. If we hurt enough, someone will notice. If we stay silent long enough, someone will turn back and ask, "Are you okay?" That belief follows us into adulthood, becoming a silent expectation that the world will instinctively know when we need saving. But life does not operate according to our hopes. Many of your most important moments will unfold in silence. No one will witness them. No one will arrive in time. Not because people are heartless, but because everyone is struggling in their own battles that you cannot see. And then, at some point, you touch a truth that is both painful and liberating. The tremors in your heart, ultimately only you can feel them. Terry Fox, the young Canadian athlete and symbol of tenacity, understood this early on. At age 18, after losing a leg to cancer, he woke up to the reality that no one could stand up for him. There was no miracle. No one else's legs could run for him. Terry practiced running with his prosthetic leg, falling and picking himself up hundreds of times. And it was in that solitude that he began the marathon of hope. Not because someone came to save him, but because he knew if he didn't take the steps himself, the road ahead would always remain dark. The Stoic philosophers spoke of this thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Your strength lies in the choices of your mind, not in salvation from outside." People truly mature when they stop expecting the world to turn toward them and start turning themselves toward the life they want to live. When you accept that no one is coming to save you, you stop waiting. You stop sending signals to people who are no longer there. And in the void where no one is supporting you, inner strength begins to rise. You step out of expectation and step into action. From then on, even the smallest decision becomes a declaration that you have chosen yourself, and that alone is enough to change the course of your life. Rule 2. Strength is born in silence. Silence teaches you to face the truth, and the indifference of the world helps you see what truly matters. That very clarity is the beginning of strength. Stoic philosophy recognized this thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The world's attention has never been a resource. If you build your value on the gaze of others, you will live your entire life feeling invisible. Being overlooked does not mean you are worthless. It only shows you have been looking for worth in the wrong place. There will be a very quiet moment. You open your phone, and there is no text message from anyone asking how you are. You go through a heavy day, and no one asks, "Are you okay?" No lifeline appears. There is only life, continuing and silent. It is then that you touch the truth you have long avoided. No one is coming to save you. It hurts, but it is also where a primitive kind of strength begins to awaken, quietly, yet truly. You stop waiting. You stop freezing your life in a posture waiting to be discovered. You move forward, not because anyone is watching, not because anyone is applauding, but because you understand that your life is worth moving forward, even when no one is witnessing it. That is the moment when silence becomes power. It is no longer a frightening void, but the place where you reclaim your autonomy. That moment is like opening a door after a long time in the dark. The light doesn't burst in, but it is enough for you to see yourself, not through the lens of others, but through your own truth. The initial emptiness is not loneliness. It is freedom. Freedom from judgment, from the craving for validation, from the expectations you carried for too long. And in that quiet space where no one intervenes, you find the only person who has never left you: yourself. You stop taking indifference as an insult. You understand that everyone is struggling with their own storm, just as there are days when you cannot see the pain of others because you are struggling to survive within yourself. And then you realize, silence has never been weakness. Silence is where you learn to stand firm without anyone's support. Silence is where your strength takes root. Silence is where you stop living to be noticed and start living to be yourself. Rule 3. Do not explain yourself to be understood. Not everyone who leaves is a loss. Sometimes it is just the necessary space for you to look at yourself again. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action." Losing some people seems painful, but it is actually the moment life shows you it's time to stop trying to make others understand you. You once thought that if you just explained enough, they would see you. But some doors are not meant to be opened from your side. The harder you push, the more it stays still. The pain is not because they don't understand. The pain is because you keep trying to prove what shouldn't need proving. Then one day, you realize how much energy you have wasted on repetitive conversations, long texts, and efforts to explain yourself just to get silence or an indifferent nod. You didn't gain understanding. You only lost yourself, bit by bit. When you live to be understood, you hand over the power to define yourself to others. And that is the beginning of weakness. Stillness teaches you what noise cannot. No one is obligated to understand you. And you are not obligated to clarify every thought, every emotion, every decision you make. Clarity is not found in words. It is found in action. Those who truly belong to your journey will see it, without you needing to elaborate. When you stop explaining, you reclaim your autonomy. You become less predictable, less susceptible to manipulation. You are no longer someone living in someone else's courtroom, always having to justify yourself to be accepted. You step out, Close the door behind you and let the truth stand alone, quietly, but brightly enough. Freedom begins the moment you understand that. You do not need to be understood to have value. You do not need to be accepted to exist. Explaining does not make you stronger. Silence makes you unshakable. Rule 4. Stop seeking validation. Build your inner worth. Reality is sometimes harsh, but that very fact is what sets you free. It reminds you that your worth is not dependent on anyone's attention. It does not increase with praise, does not decrease when ignored, and does not vanish just because someone fails to recognize you. True worth exists quietly and persistently, even when you feel forgotten. That very clarity is where self-respect begins. So when you accept that no one cares, do not see it as cruelty. See it as a cleansing. The moment you stop reaching out to be chosen and start standing by your own side. Initially, it might be as lonely as walking into an empty room, but that emptiness will become space where you hear your inner voice instead of waiting for applause. In that space, you detach from the noise, the fleeting likes, the comparative gazes. Most people live to be seen. Very few dare to look within. When you realize no one will stand up for you but yourself, the disturbances that once confused you suddenly drop away from your life. You return to what truly matters: inner worth. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." When you understand that, you stop trying to control the world and return to the only thing you are master of: yourself. You clearly see where energy once leaked, the conversations for validation, the arguments to be understood, the people you pursued to prove you were worthy. And the paradox emerges. The less you need validation, the stronger you become. You no longer choose out of fear of being abandoned. You choose because it aligns with the person you want to become. No drama, no asking permission. Clarity erodes self-doubt bit by bit. Every time you are true to yourself, you lay another brick for the foundation of self-confidence. Belief in yourself becomes the spine of your inner worth. Carl Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life." Clarity brings the patterns of seeking acceptance into the light so you can see and break them. When you no longer live through the eyes of others, you become your own author. That is Stoic strength. Not showy, not dependent, just self-mastery. A strength that does not need to be seen to exist. The day you accept that no one defines you but yourself, everything changes. You don't live to be validated. You live to become something no one can take away. Rule 5. Build discipline. Makes you untouchable. This is the moment you stop letting life drag you along and start taking the wheel yourself. Freedom from self-sabotage is only the beginning. When you stop pouring energy into people who don't care, you realize how much power you have wasted. That energy doesn't vanish. It returns to you. And the question is, what will you do with it? Stoicism has only one answer: turn it into a discipline. Because discipline is where true power resides. Society might say that freedom is being able to do whatever you want, but Stoicism sees the opposite. Freedom only comes from self-mastery, from the ability to stand firm when the world pulls you in 1,000 directions. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, what pains you is not the event, but the way you judge it. That is the essence of discipline. You choose what is allowed to touch your peace. Discipline rebuilds constancy where there was once chaos. When you realize that no one is coming to save you, You stop entrusting your stability to others. You build it yourself through small actions that no one sees. Waking up on time, exercising your body, journaling, walking away instead of engaging in useless arguments. They are not just habits. They are a declaration that you refuse to let the chaos born from expecting things from others control your life. The paradox is, discipline might feel heavy in the moment, but it makes your life lighter. You are no longer swept into drama, no longer shattered by small collisions. The storm still comes, but you are no longer the easily broken tree. You become the rock. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Calm the fury of the waves by refusing to crumble." Discipline is the way you bring the unconscious into the light. It forces you to look directly at the impulses that once controlled you. Carl Jung wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life." And when you begin to choose restraint instead of impulsive reaction, you take back the steering wheel of your life. You no longer confuse sentimentality with strength. From that moment, you become untouchable. Not because life becomes less challenging, but because nothing external still has the power to define who you are. Discipline makes you strong in a quiet, persistent, and unassailable way. Rule 6. Healing happens in your silence. There are wounds not inflicted by others, but by your own refusal to stop and look at them. And the paradox is, healing doesn't happen in the comfort of others' words. It doesn't come from open arms, and certainly not from phrases like, "Everything will be all right." It occurs in the moment you are alone, when the silence becomes as heavy as stone, and you have no other choice but to face yourself. Think about it. How many times have you tried to find someone to understand you, trying to explain so much, hoping someone would fill the void? But the more you talk, the wider the void becomes. Because healing is not in being understood, but in ceasing to need to be understood. When life ignores you, it is not punishing you. It is forcing you to turn inward, where you cannot pretend to be strong, nor can you pretend to be fine. In that silence, the pain loses the dramatic layer you unconsciously attached to it. It remains only a truth that needs to be accepted. And it is that acceptance itself that strengthens you. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "Do not run away from yourself." Because when you dare to stay with the pain, without explaining, without clinging, you begin to see its true nature and your own. Healing is not noisy. It has no applause. It happens quietly, in the moment you understand that you don't need anyone to pull you back up. You stood up on your own a long time ago. You just haven't seen it yet. Room 7. Become your own source of strength. When silence no longer frightens you, you step into a different state of life, where strength no longer comes from someone looking at you, but precisely from the fact that you no longer need that. You stop chasing, stop relying on attention, and cease measuring your value by what belongs to the external world. From discipline, you become steady, and from that steadiness, you enter the deepest transformation. You become your own source of strength. Most people never reach this state. They still hope someone will see them, permit them to stand up, to be strong, to live authentically. But when you stop expecting that, a simple yet miraculous thing happens. You grant yourself authority. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Self-mastery is not about controlling every event that happens, but about not entrusting your emotions, values, or direction to anyone else. You stop letting the applause or the silence of others determine your next step. You move forward because you choose to do so. This is not arrogance, but autonomy. a mature, tranquil, and enduring form of freedom. You still love, still connect, still open your door to the world, but your foundation is no longer resting on the shoulders of others. If they leave, you still stand firm. If they misunderstand, you remain calm. If they betray you, you rebuild without crumbling. The paradox is, when you no longer need attention, your presence becomes stronger. Because from that moment, everything you do stems from authenticity, not desperation. You no longer perform, no longer prove, no longer try to be understood. You simply live quietly in accordance with who you are, and others feel that weight, even if they cannot articulate it. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, don't argue about what a good man should be. Just be one. And when you do that, without declaration, you become undeniable. The strange thing is, the world begins to notice you precisely when you no longer need the attention. Your stillness speaks louder than any justification. Your composure attracts more respect than any performance. And most importantly, you feel different inside. Clearer, freer, and stronger in a way no one can take away. The loneliness that once haunted you now becomes stillness, an internal home. What once terrified you now becomes peace, and that peace is power. You no longer crumble when no one comforts you. You no longer shatter when no one shows up, because you have learned the lesson that changes everything. You don't need them. You have yourself. That is the Stoic way of life, moving with clarity, acting with discipline, holding stillness as a form of quiet power. When you become so self-governed that the world cannot shake you, you touch the freedom that many crave, but very few dare to see through. Once you grasp it, everything changes. The pain that once burned you becomes your blueprint. The stillness that once made you feel lost becomes your teacher. You are no longer fragile. You proactively move forward. No pleading, no waiting for validation. And then you understand. Your value doesn't depend on who sees you. It always lies in how you see yourself. This is where freedom reigns. This is where strength begins. Not in being understood, but in choosing yourself again and again until your life becomes untouchable. Therefore, do not let these words you just heard simply drift and vanish. Let them become a turning point. Stop waiting for the world to care. Stop handing over the key to your value to anyone. Decide now that the stillness within you is real, and your discipline is the path to break all tangible and intangible constraints. If these words touched you, leave a comment. Sometimes just one shared sentence is enough for someone else to find themselves in silence. And if you want to continue building inner strength, self-mastery, and enduring peace, leave a like and hit the subscribe button for the Stoic Journey so you don't miss the next lessons. This is your moment. Please, do not waste it. Accept that no one cares. And then, watch how fast you change.